Couldn't be better.
Oh, really? Okay, good.
Couldn't be
Fantastic.
better. It's as good as it can possibly be.
Good. Fantastic. Leo Allison, longtime buddy from Creighton Prep, Omaha, Nebraska. We played football together, done a lot of crazy things together. Known Leo since I was 14. So that's 30, 32 years now, which is, seems like yesterday we were just doing some of those things. I'm glad it wasn't yesterday. Glad it was a long time ago. Um, and so I want to. Leo and I were just we're doing a Skype session or Skype conversation, just like we do, just homeboys, just hanging out. And Leo started telling me about the stage of his awakening that he's going through right now, uh, uh, and started explaining it and describing it in an incredible way, a very incredible way that is something that we in our dragon training, our heart space prison break shadow dragon training, we talk about all the time, which is spiritual bypassing. And this whole conversation that Leo and I have been having, that I said, hey, why don't we just stop this and come over to Google Hangouts and do a hangout and actually do something that can be shared, saved, shared, and broadcast. um, uh, this is what we're doing. So you're what you're watching right now is a live conversation between two old buddies who are sharing this path together. And it's very clear that Leo Allison is at what we call the dragon front door, which is where dragon starts, which is going from an intellectual view of spirituality, an intellectual dogma, doing a lot of reading, doing a lot of soul searching by yourself, all that sort of stuff. That's a lot where a lot of meditators are, is the intellectual inside the head, versus living it in real life, interacting with people in real life in a new way, interacting with different parts of himself in new ways, and actively becoming a participant in his journey versus just thinking about it and intellectualizing about it. So, Leo, what do you think? I mean, tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you get where you are right now?
Well, as you know, I did the same thing as you do growing up, or you did growing up. Did the college deal, got the MBA, went to work for a Fortune 100 company, did everything that I was told that would make me happy. Got a great education, got married, had a family, had the big house, had the country club, had the money, had the cars, all that kind of stuff. And then some things started itching at me, and I didn't know what was going on. I did again. I did what I was told. I thought this was top of the mountain. Things are just going to continue to get better, but there were some things that were percolating in my life, and I didn't really realize it at the time. And they, I suppose, started manifesting themselves in some ways that I didn't realize they were, and wound up, getting a divorce, and after that, falling into alcoholism, not pretty deep, very deep, and was in over my head in terms of life. Everything that I ever told was right and true and and real. I found out was all bullshit and all lies, and it was a house of cards, and my house of cards absolutely folded, all 52 cards down to the frickin' floor, and it was the most wonderful thing that ever could have happened. And I
Yay!
never in a million years, when you're in the throes of that, or when you're in that death spiral circling, and nothing in your life is what you thought it was, would you ever feel like you could come out on the other side of the black hole or the wormhole. But man, have I ever. And it's just, the journey. I'm I'm sure we've anybody that's been on this journey or gone through something like this would say that it's the greatest thing that ever could have happened to him, was being stripped away of all the bullshit in life, everything that you thought was real, having it all just just taken from you, and you giving it away too. But just laid bare, just everything absolutely gone in terms of what you thought life and existence and and reality was.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. And since we're doing this this broadcast for our advanced Dragon students, um, they will recognize your use of the word "you" when you are speaking about yourself. So instead of saying me or I, you are saying you, which is a projection, right? So which is something that we pay very, very, very close attention to in our practice. And so I would just bring the awareness back to you in your language when you are speaking about yourself. Um, uh, be conscious, be aware of using the word I or me when you are speaking about yourself instead of this impersonal you. The language that we use is a is a is an indication of what's going on inside. And so the closer you can get to yourself by using I and me when you're speaking about yourself, your own story, really brings ownership and power. There's a new fundamental frequency that comes into yourself. And how about this? Into myself. When I say I, when I say me, when I'm speaking about myself versus some impersonal you, we do these things like humans do these things. And so at this advanced dragon level, we really pay attention to these things, and it's important that we do that. And that's just an indication right now of the level of clarity and the level of unconditional practice that we are engaged in right now in this broadcast itself. So, um, uh, Leo, you had everything. You lost it. You gave it away. It disintegrated. It dissolved. Um, um, you moved from the big house in Omaha to your 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 island down in the Florida Keys. Um, what happened then? What happened then? You moved away. You did the geographical, and then what?
Well, that's when I was absolutely away from everything, and I realized it was going to be I realized I was going to be away from everything where I needed to be for quite some time, and I didn't know exactly where to start to do what to do with this this new Leo and where to go. I knew what wasn't real anymore, but I didn't know what was real. And so you and I have talked about it. It was almost going into a monk stage, so to speak. Did a ton of reading, a ton of meditating, self-searching, and it took off pretty quickly for me. I mean, maybe it was just because I was at ground zero and with no foundation anymore. But once I really started digging in and letting my desire carry me wherever it would take me, the blocks really started to come up pretty quickly, and in my opinion, pretty solidly. And that lasted for two probably 2.5, 3 years. And I was fortunate enough to have enough money from selling my house and a couple other things that I was able to uh, pay my bills and still do all the inner work, the self work that needed to be done. And even if I didn't at that, it didn't matter. I would have done what I had to do, because there's nothing more important than discovering what the hell life was. Who was I? Who am I? Where have I been? Where am I going? All those questions, the being the existential detective, so to speak. And I had, away from my kids, which, as was not the easiest, etc. But back to the point is, coming out of the reclusive or the hermitage stage after discovering all these truths that I really felt with every quantum particle in my body, that was the real deal, was the universal truth. This is what it's all about. This is why I'm here. Everything just kind of clicked, and these big bangs of consciousness that I would have literally just set my body on fire, and unlike anything I could ever imagine having, the experience part of it, where you go from the theory and the knowledge and what you learn to just absolutely knowing. I mean, when your body is vibrating with energy unlike you ever knew anything ever unlike anything you knew existed in the universe. It's real, but I'm still by myself doing my things. I knew that these were truths. I knew that this was where it was at. I knew this was the meat of existence. And it wasn't until I started going out and having to earn a living and go back out and apply all these great things all these great truths that I once again built my life on. And so, as I mentioned, I'm
A
all
new,
bright.
a new house, a new house of cards, a new
Right.
house of
Yeah.
cards.
Yeah. Just when I thought that I had it and everything was in place, I go back out and I find out that that's not it either. It's not even that. But as I said before, it's all bright and shiny, all these spiritual things, except what is. Nothing can bother me. I got it. These are the truths, etc. Well, it was all fine and dandy until somebody kicks you in the nuts. And then where's all that practice? Where are all these truths? Where's all that shit that I built my life around again? Where'd it go? But it wasn't until I was actually challenged in a relationship situation and having some of those old energies and that old programming, that conditioning coming up, that I thought that I had done away with, that I had let loose, come to terms with, processed, alchemized, however you want to term it. I'm this new guy. I'm the spiritual Leo. Here we go. Well, you go out and once life shows up again, which it didn't for a couple of years in Disneyland, as I found out, it you realize that that they're just two distinct things, up here and in here and down below. And all these things that I processed and came to terms with and accepted as truth up here had never been tested in the lower part, in the survival part of me, in the solar plexus and the root and the sacral chakras, those areas, that energy had never been processed. It almost just as if I had abandoned it and filled my energy body with everything from the heart up. And that was fine and dandy when I didn't leave my house very often and didn't have to interact except to show everybody how spiritual I was. But anyway, back.
Oh
So,
my God.
so, so I remember, starting to get into the position where I had a great business idea, and I met the right people. Things were falling into place. All these synchronicities, the law of attraction, all this kind of stuff was really happening. That was real. There's no question about it. Uh, these things absolutely fell into place because of the mental universe that I was living in, and how I was storing up my energy, and where I was sending out what I was bringing in. But when I start to get in the same arena with other people with ideas and with the same goal, but completely different ways of going about it, that's when my ego, absolutely kicked back in. That I thought that it was gone. That I could, these things that would arise in a relationship, I could absolutely process. I see them for what they were and just let go and just take the high road. Well, it got to the point after a couple months when I was around these people that that had the same goals as I did and wanted to do the same things, but challenged my way of going about it, that I found myself back at almost the starting blocks. And I think I didn't want to accept that. So it was so uncomfortable when I'd be like, well, I don't even have to deal with that. I can just go home and be spiritual again, and go and start reading and start meditating, get back in that comfort zone and bypass the holy shit out of everything, and just go out in small doses until my spiritual tank ran dry, which was quick, and then go home and kind of do my thing again, build, charge the battery, go back out for a little period of time, and then speed back home, charge the battery. And well,
Hey,
that's
Leo,
only going to work
Leo,
with.
Leo, check this out. You mean like going to church every Sunday? So what they do is so Monday through Saturday they live in the regular real world, and then they go to church on Sunday to get the spiritual recharge. You mean kind of like that?
Mm, yeah, I mean, if you can call it that. I mean, I see a little bit different.
Well, I'm just
In theory, the
I'm
same thing.
saying I'm saying there is a model for that
Yeah.
in the world that has been accepted as this is how we do it. Spiritual bypass is a model in the world that says we act like church people in church, and then we act like heathens the rest of the week.
Mhm.
So spiritual bypass, I'm just getting this right now, Leo, from what you just said.
Mhm.
You know, your spiritual tank runs dry, and then you go back to the well and you get some more spiritual energy, and then you go back out, and
Yeah.
and there's that
Yeah.
cycle of
Yeah, I'm
there's
home. Home time. Rebuilding my spiritual gas tank. Telling myself how unspiritual everybody else is. Now they don't know anything, and I'm enlightened, and all these. It was just not being able to understand and put into practice, bring out of the knowledge and theory of myself and put it into the practice and understanding and real life interaction. Two just totally different things that I was unprepared for. Again, when I thought I thought that this new house of cards or that they were bricks, and until I went out and had the interaction and had my ways of thinking tested, all these old things come up again. Things that I thought I processed, but I did only in my head, not energetically throughout my whole body, and not in practice, and not mirrored back to me. All the different things that I thought were processed but weren't, but just sitting there in different parts of my body,
and what you said
unchallenged.
one right. And one thing you said to me is one thing you said to me is I thought I had dealt with my ego issues, and then what you said is you started dealing with other people, and those ego issues pop straight back up again.
Absolutely, that yeah, the thoroughbred that I used to ride showed right back up, and I wanted to ride back on it and outrace everybody. Beat him to the finish line, be the smartest, be the greatest, be the coolest, be the best in the room, and it was absolutely amazing that to feel that sort of energy come back up and clash with what I knew I didn't want to be. And boy, talk about just a brand new level of uncertainty and being in no man's land once again, but on a different side of the no man's land. But again, these are I didn't. I wasn't sure how things were going to change because I knew I couldn't crawl back in a hole and just deal with be with my family and just define my parameters and define what my world was going to be. I had the time had come where I had to go back and live life again and put to the test who I wanted to become and the person who I wanted to be and who I saw myself inside as being to actually be able to be that person and live in the real world.
All right, check this out. So when we do this, whenever I sit down with anyone and we get into this level of depth, I always take notes, and I take notes. I take notes in a particular way. Um, this is what I have so far. By bypassing spiritual bypassing is a house of cards. Isolation, righteousness, comfort zone, judgment, projection, theory, intellectual, defined, well defined. How about that?
Mhm.
Well defined,
Mhm.
protected, and avoiding,
Mhm.
planned, well planned. Right? So you had the plan and you had the plan down, and damn it, this is I know what I'm doing, right? The
Mhm.
plan is set.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm spiritual. God damn it.
More human than human. I am more
Yeah.
human than human. I
Yeah.
am a God human.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, and that in a relatively short period of time, I came to realize that again, this is the whole new phase of life that where I needed to be. That this was the only place by engaging in these sorts of relationships and having to do interact in this sort of fashion. That was the only place, at least at that time, that my blind spots were going to be exposed, and I was going to be called out for, for what I thought I was when I actually wasn't. I mean, the best way I can say is to have your blind spots exposed. Have your shortcomings, your my shortcomings, my character defects shined right back at me, so I could see where they were once again, and those were tough to swallow. It's the spiritual ego kicks into place. I find myself almost rationalizing reasons why I can feel that way and still be spiritual. So
Well, one of the things we have discussed, at this next level, Leo, at this next level, the language is very important. The language we use is incredibly important, and the language we use becomes the signal to ourselves first of all. So the language I use as Kaleo becomes my signal in the moment, my present moment signal to tell me where I am in my in my being, in my incarnation. And so the language I use becomes incredibly important to observe and to witness myself using language in particular ways. And so uh, uh, um, everything begins with language. So the language that I choose, the labels I choose, the meanings that are hidden under the labels, the definitions, the associations become incredibly important to show me what's really going on under my hood, inside my system. So one of the labels that people on the path generally never get past is the word spiritual, is the word spiritual itself. At the next levels of our dragon training, we don't talk about spiritual anymore. We talk about energy. Everything spiritual is energetic, and everything is energetic. So when the common definition, the common meaning of spiritual is some separate thing that is somehow special, somehow unique.
it's an ego ride, another ego ride.
It's another ego ride. So in the definition, hidden in the meaning of spiritual is special because it's not normal. And that's really what we're talking about, our new normal, right? So our new normal academy is about the new normal. Everything is spiritual, everything is special, everything is regular, it's normal, it's the new normal. So the new normal language doesn't designate spirituality from anything else. It's all the same. And so when we say it's all the same, the only thing that is all the same everywhere is energy. So we are energy practitioners rather than spiritual practitioners. We have energy bodies rather than spiritual bodies. We have energy practice rather than spiritual practice. I can do my energy practice anywhere I want without ever talking about spirituality. I can do my energy practice in my sleep. I can do my energy practice when I'm sitting on the toilet. I can do my energy practice in the weight room. Wait a minute, Kaleo, are you saying that the weight room is your temple, is your church, is where you do your spiritual practice? Well, yeah, hello. Oh, wait a minute, Kaleo, are you telling me that you're doing energy practice when you make love with your wife, therefore making love with your wife is a spiritual practice? Well, yeah, of course. Wait a minute. What about sacred? Well, all energy is sacred. You can't destroy it or create it. So, I mean, I think, you know, sacred. Wait a minute. What about spiritual protection? Well, I don't know any energy that needs to be protected. Why would energy need to be protected? Energy just needs to be exchanged, shared, uh, deciphered, and used. Spiritual use, energetic use. The practice of protection means I need to shield my spirituality from all of the boogeymen, all the monsters out there. Well, if you say I need to shield my energy, if you say I need to protect my energy, that doesn't even make any sense, because the protection automatically disconnects from sharing and exchange. So the use of the terminology itself, and the transformation, the observation and the transformation of the terminology itself will begin to transform your energy, which is why I say that the language is so important. The language becomes the conduit for how this energetic transformation happens. And you will find yourself using specialized terms like spirituality less and less, and using generalized terms like energy and universal connection more and more. And that will then automatically bring you, us, our practice, out of the stage of dogma that is rigid, righteous, judgmental, projected, intellectual theory into the realm of practice, because energy is all about movement and it's all about exchange. Energy does not exist in a vacuum. It has to be exchanged, and it has to exist within a conduit. We are the conduit. Right now, Google Hangouts is the conduit for sharing energy. The conduit is life. Life is the conduit to exchange energy. I don't ever have to say one word about a spiritual life versus a work life versus my personal life versus my friendship with Leo, as if they're all separate and distinct. When I speak about energy, it's always there. It's all energy. Yeah. So with this spiritual bypass, Leo, what newest, right now, present, new normal lessons or revelations are coming to light, like even in this conversation, even in connecting with, your old mate here that we haven't spoken for a while, and things have been moving in your life? What's coming to light for you, like in these present moments right now, that you can share with the people?
Really re-engaging with parts of me that I abandoned when my house came falling down, and when I quote unquote became spiritual. I had an idea in my mind. This is a while back now, but I had an idea in my mind how spiritual people should be, and what they should say, and how they should talk, and the things that they should talk about, how they should carry themselves, the demeanor that spiritual people would have. Well, about I'm gonna say probably about a year ago, I started with some inner truths that came to light, and also with my studies and my research and in talking with other people, there were some things about me that I totally re-engaged with, but on a whole different level. I saw them complete, who I was, and some things about me in a whole different light that they didn't need to be abandoned. That was part of my makeup, part of my genetic code, part of my imprinting when I came into this universe. And those things didn't need to be abandoned. They need to be recognized in a whole different fashion, and integrated into a brand new wholeness of being, a brand new existence, a brand new way of living that had nothing to do with spirituality and all to do with reality in the real world and interaction, not running from anything, but engaging the entire package of who I am and not running from anything and not living a life based on what I thought somebody should be like or how I thought somebody should act like, but being me, finding the authentic person in me, that beat, 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 that is me, and embracing it and taking it for all it's worth and expressing it and being comfortable with those parts of me, starting to swear again, starting to say the things that I hadn't said before, starting to talk about, things that I thought, I wasn't supposed to talk about anymore, and starting to, call things out how I see them. I mean, from everything from religion to sex, I mean, you name it, being comfortable with how I saw things and not trying to run away from those thoughts or those feelings because I thought that they may not be how a spiritual person should act, but just engaging the wholeness of who I am and seeing it in a whole different light and being good with it, being authentic and just being true to who I am. That's not always easy because there it will never be easy because there are those conflicts that continually arise, but those are the layers of the onions. Those are the things that I realize about myself, that my blind spots that I need to shed, need to let go of, and just let things absolutely flow and not try and pre-package my thoughts and my actions. Just let it go.
Wow. That's incredible, Leo. I've never heard anyone say it like that before. That is, if I had a sound bite, well, which I now do, thank you. That's the sound bite. That's the sound bite for dragon training. The front door to dragon is exactly what you just said. When I realized the self-judgment, the pain of my own self-judgment and my own hiding away parts of myself that I have judged as improper, impure, non-spiritual. As a spiritual person, I have to throw these things away. I mean, now I'm literally sounding like the people that go to church. I'm literally sounding like the people on Sunday who say, I leave the person who I am out that door, and when I come and sit in the church, I'm somebody different. My behavior outside that door is completely different than who I am when I come to church. And so that is a very inauthentic, right? So use the word authentic yourself, your authentic self. That is a very inauthentic way. That is a very splintered way, a very fractured way, and a very conflict oriented way of being, right? So anytime a person has to split themselves within themselves and they find reasons to split themselves, they're using the wrong labels, definitions, and associations that then create the behavior. And if a person doesn't look at their associations, labels, and definitions, they will never see that they themselves are the root of their own behavior. They will never see that. So what you're seeing now is the definition of spiritual, the definition of the spiritual person. Your old definition, which what you're saying, in your 46 years, it's actually a new definition. It's the newest definition that you had once your house of cards from your old life started falling. you had to create this new definition of spiritual, because you had a definition of spiritual even before then, right?
Sure, absolutely,
Going
yeah.
going to church, right? The good Catholic boy, you know, all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you had to then dissolve that definition of spiritual. Then you had this new definition of spiritual that said, I'm going to say my mantras, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to isolate, I'm going to judge, I'm going to be righteous, I'm going to, you know,
Accept what is. Accept. You see me accept what is? Hey, did you see that? Did you see me accept what is? How spiritual is that? How spiritual is that? I just accepted what is. Look at that. See how I'm handling this? Look at that.
ooh, special, special. Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Special.
also yeah, and it's for me it was re-engaging, or not re-engaging, actually engaging for the first time in my life, not giving a fuck what other people thought, you know, not giving a fuck anymore.
Yeah.
Now I'm still that's a lifelong process, but I absolutely gave a big fuck. Lots of fucks. My hands were full of fucks that I gave for everybody what they care, what I thought, my level of care about what they thought about me. But getting back in touch with my authentic self and being who I am means I have to give far less fucks, So there we go.
Fantastic. And so now, at the stage where you are right now, which is this newest revelation, is this new level of so-called spirituality that we're really heading toward energetic wholeness, energetic
Yeah, absolutely.
clarity. We're actually talking about energy that can be used to light up your television or electrocute the prisoner. Wait a minute. You mean people can use God and spirituality to kill people? Yeah. Yeah. And that's actually the norm. You mean, wait a minute. The definition of spirituality becomes the behavior of the so-called spiritual person, the guru fever, the I'm better than you because I know Hail Mary's better than you, or I can say more mantras than you, or I've been to India more times than you have, therefore I'm more spiritual. Yeah. Wait a minute, Kaleo, are you saying that if I look at my definition of spirituality and what it means to me to be a spiritual person, and I find the specialness of being spiritual, I'm actually stuck in that old spiritual definition again, and I didn't even know it? Yeah.
And a lot of it stems back from feeling that there's an outside God, because when there's an outside God, there's an outside model and an outside idea of what I would think that being spiritual or being holy or whatever you want to call it would be. So so with that as an overriding energy in how you see the world, as something outside of you being a level of spirituality that you have to live up to, you're screwed. As soon as you realize you're God, the jig's up. The game's over. Once you realize you're God, fuck it all. It doesn't matter. The jig is up. Now, still, you got to you got to watch how you're dealing with the rest of the 98% of this world that don't know that, and you got to play that game and not let the game play you. But the game's fucking over when you're God.
And it's a game. And it's
Yeah.
a game. Thank you. Oh my God. I cannot believe you actually got there on this one, man. I can't believe you actually got there just now on that. You know, for me to hear you say that the big distinction between intellectual, dogmatic spirituality versus integrated, unconditional living energy is the belief in an external God versus knowing
Absolutely.
you are God.
No question about it.
I have never heard that in my life, Leo. I've been doing this a long time, and I've known I'm God. You know, well, even back when we were at prep, I knew I was God. Okay, so I mean, you know, bottom line, this is real. This is how it goes. And, you know,
Yeah.
some of us actually live this way. We actually live this way, right? So I cannot believe I just heard you say that. Yay! It's on tape. It's on tape.
Yeah,
It's on tape.
absolutely. But and to bring it current is that is being true to that part of me that knows this. I mean, like feels it, knows it. There, am it. I am it. But to still do the things that every day that this matrix demands of us. I cannot go out and to the people I do business with say, hey, I'm God, get over it. You can't do that. You still got to play the game. And at that point, at this point, being my authentic self and balancing it in the manufactured reality that we live in is it's a never ending new challenge every day, always taking you to the edge, stretching your mind type of living. And so, I mean, it's fabulous because down deep inside that it is just a game, but you still got to do those everyday things that this manufactured reality demands of you.
Every game comes with a set of rules and has particular skills that are honored and valued in the game. Our dragon practice is all about the skills played at the highest level of performance, at the highest level of the game, right? So you got Bush League, you got Pee Wee League, you got A class, and then you have pro. You have the world class, absolute pro level, super galactic, super level. That's the level where we start. Okay, so we are playing the big game with the big boys, with the big rules, with the big super huge field where skill really, really matters. And the first skill is the skill of self-responsibility. The only way a person can take actual, real, 100% unconditional self-responsibility is to bring it all back inside, all of it, and eat it. When we talk about becoming the shadow eater, when we talk about using the external world to illuminate your internal spiritual alchemy, using the biggest skill we can have is using everything we see as a tool for our self-illumination. We then are worshiping God. When we use the tools that the universe has created, the universe is inside us. By the way, universe, we are creating these tools, and we swallow those tools like the sun swallows the planets. We swallow those tools and we use them for fuel so that the God part of us, the God self of us, can eat. Otherwise, there is no nourishment, and we call it spiritual nourishment, right? We call it energetic nourishment. So the energy that is emitted from everywhere out there that we then eat and we consume in here nourishes our deepest self. And we call that soul currency, SOUL currency. And soul currency is what we live on. It's dragon food. Soul currency is dragon food. That's what we live on. Yeah, we need money, human currency to survive and to thrive and to exist on this planet. Yes, we need that, but that's not what we're talking about. Our highest value is inherent value. All of the human currencies are perceived value and declared value, and I talk a lot about that in our practice. Our value, our highest value at the level of the heart, the level of dragon, once we get out of the intellectual perceived and declared, is the practice of inherent value. The practice of inherent value says that the most worn tool in your belt is the favorite tool. So use your tool. Do not ever be afraid of wearing your tool out, because as you use your tool, it becomes sharper. At the next level where we are, you cannot wear out your tool. Your spiritual well that could be extinguished over on this side can never be extinguished on this side, because the more you use it, the more full it is. The more you use your godhood, your godliness, the more powerful your godhood, your godliness becomes. That's completely opposite than anything anyone's talking about out there. There is no protection for that. Why would you protect that? Why would a person sequester that? Or why would a person judge that? Or why would a person isolate that? We want to share that.
Programming and conditioning, and installed limitations on people. That's what it's the matrix. It's the freaking matrix. We know that.
Yeah, that's a good place to end, Leo. So do you like this conversation?
Sure.
Well, so do I. This is it, man. This is all I do 24/7. This is all I do 24/7. And so I wanted to really make sure that I got this on video, because you're talking about something, when you brought that up in our conversation about spiritual bypass, you're talking about something that is really knocking on the dragon front door. And one of the requirements for self-responsibility, self-initiation, is for a person to be able to embody exactly what you just spoke about, the difference between intellectual spirituality and experiential energetics. So I welcome you to this side of life, the new normal side of life, man. And you're now gonna be part of our little small secret group. I'm gonna post this up to the secret group, and this is your introduction to the secret group. And this is a good thing, man. All right.
All right, brother.
All right, brother. Love you, man. Take care of yourself.
Back at you.
All right. All right.
Be good.
I'm gonna stop broadcast. Okay.